A glorious prospect. And our subject this week belongs to an elite group of people who've been honoured with the freedom of the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead. There are many degrees of heroism. Some win medals for courage under enemy fire. Others prove themselves as charismatic leaders. But tonight, This Is Your Life plans to tell the story of another quieter kind of hero, someone who kept an epic adventure a secret for 50 years. In the London of the 1930s, the world was his oyster. He was carefree, he was single, and his job as a young stockbroker paid him well. Life was good. But then in 1938, a chance visit to Prague brought him face to face with the plight of thousands of children caught up in a lottery of life and death.
And he reacted straight away with energy, dedication, compassion, and a refusal to take no for an answer.
Working around the clock until the day war broke out, he saved nearly 700 children from the Nazis, bringing some of them out of Czechoslovakia on forged permits.
And if I hadn't been on his list, I wouldn't be here today.
Then, incredibly, he hid every detail of his exploits in an attic for 50 years. He revealed to nobody the full extent of what he'd done. He's never really stopped. Now aged 93, he's an enthusiastic fundraiser. One of his favourite charities is the Abbeyfield Society, with its network of accommodation for old people. Today he's here at the home named in his honour, celebrating its 20th anniversary. He's just about to cut the cake. What a very handsome cake. And I hope you'll forgive, sir, this interruption of this meeting of friends. It's in a good cause, so would you take your hands off that knife?
I was just trying to put my hand on the knife.
Well, it's safer if I think you take it off, because I've come here to say, Sir Nicholas Winton, MBE, today this is your life. These are our cameras, and we're going to take you to our studio where even more friends and relatives are waiting to tell the story of your long and very full life. So, when you've finished your cake, I'll ask you to join me.
This is true.
Yes, sir.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you. Right. Among the surprises in store for Sir Nicholas Winton, a high-flying friend touches base, reminders of his swashbuckling past, and a reunion with some of the children he saved. Well, very happy to see you, Sir Nicholas, friends and colleagues with whom you've worked tirelessly over the years to raise more than £2 million for charity. Like all your friends around the world, they were delighted when, 64 years after rescuing hundreds of children from Nazi persecution, you received a knighthood in the New Year's Honours List.
But with typical modesty, Papa, you kept that quiet as well.
It's your son Nick with his partner Monica and your daughter Barbara with husband Steve and their children Lawrence and Holly. Nick, your father is a reluctant hero.
Yes, I didn't even find out about his knighthood until I read it in the paper that day. As you can tell, he's very modest, and when he got his MBE 10 years ago, I understand he wore the medal once on his pyjamas and put it away in a cupboard where it's left ever since.
So, Barbara, is this today a secret you kept from your father?
We thought it was a good getting our own back on him, keeping the knighthood secret, yes, so we were very pleased to do that.
Your knighthood is a recognition of what you did over a 9-month period many years ago. For a man of 93, 9 months is like drawing a breath. But that time was vital. It gave all the children you saved a priceless future. They call themselves Winton's children. And now their extended families number 5,000 people around the world. In December 1938, you were a 29-year-old stockbroker. You were due to go on a skiing holiday to Switzerland with a friend, a schoolmaster called Martin Blake. But he asked you to go instead to Prague, and you had no idea what he was getting you into.
No, I had no idea. Perhaps if I had known, I shouldn't have gone.
What was it you saw in Prague that moved you?
Well, I was immediately given the job of taking MP Eleanor Rathbone round the camps. And it was midwinter, and the camps were all Nissen huts. And the people in the Nissen huts were people who, a lot of them, were already refugees for the second time. They'd been thrown out of Germany and they went to Sudetenland. Then they had to leave Sudetenland and they had nowhere to go. They were just put in camps. So it was pretty bleak.
Well, let's look back at some archive film from those uneasy days before World War II. In 1938, Hitler marched into the Sudetenland, the part of Czechoslovakia bordering Germany. For Jews there, life became a nightmare of fear and intimidation. You found thousands of parents desperate to get their children out before the German occupation. You returned to Britain with hundreds of photographs and a long register of children's names. It was Winton's list. When necessary, you forged exit papers from Czechoslovakia and then harassed the British Home Office into issuing entry visas. At the same time, you found foster families willing to take in hundreds of young refugees. The first trainload of children left Prague in March 1939, the day before the German occupying forces arrived. The ninth and last train, with 251 children ready to travel, was scheduled to leave at midnight on September the 1st, but war was declared, the borders were sealed, and the train never left Prague. As far as is known, none of those children survived the Holocaust. You must still agonize over that final train, don't you?
Well, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Absolutely. And insofar as all the children who came over, I don't think any saw their parents again.
Well, we're going to the Czech Republic now to revisit the scene of the Great Escape that you organised in 1939. One of the children you rescued took our cameras back to the railway station in Prague. Her name is Alice Klimova.
Hello, Nicky. You know very well, if it hadn't been for you, I would have perished in the Holocaust like so many others, like all my family. It is thanks to you that I was able to have a happy life. And as one of your children once said to you, how does one say thank you for saving one's life? Naturally, being here, my memories go back when I was an 11-year-old girl waiting for the train to take me to England. Of course, my memories bring me back to my parents and trying to imagine what they must have gone through. I'm very, very proud to know you, to be one of your friends. Thank you very, very much.
And another of your friends in Prague wants a word, the United States Ambassador, Craig Stapleton.
Good evening, Sir Nicholas. It's an honor to be with you once again. Your courage and your foresight saved lives, and it's a story that we will remember for a long time. You're a hero, not only to your family, but to Czechs and Americans and the world. I look forward to seeing you on my next trip to London, and I wish you a good health and a long life.
As you've said, the parents of the youngsters you saved did not survive Hitler's concentration camps, but the children, spread all over the world, now have families of their own.
And now, dear Nicky, you're the much-loved father figure of the largest family in the world.
And some of those children whose lives you saved 64 years ago are here for you tonight. Vera Gissi. Alf, now Lord Dowds. Ruth Drahota. Uta Klein. Josephine Knight. Anna Schnabel.
Are you going to fly in a microwave?
And from Australia, Tom Schrecker. Vera, you owe everything to this man.
I most certainly do. But I must also mention that I owe a great depth of gratitude to my foster family, the Rainfords. My foster mother's first words to me were, "You shall be loved," and loved I was, and made very welcome. And I also gained a sister, Dorothy, and she's here with me on this important day. You know, Nicky, I am absolutely certain that if it wasn't for your timely intervention, we wouldn't be sitting here today. I think you also have been an incredible example to us all, because saving us children in 1939 was only the beginning of your humanitarian activities. And I must say, you've changed my life. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to be part of it. And I love you with all my heart.
And Lord Alf Dubs, you obviously second that emotion.
Of course I do. I mean, you saved my life, you saved our lives. Without you, we wouldn't be here. But, you know, let me remind you of something else. You are as generous as you are modest, as you are brave. And do you remember when we, the children, clubbed together to make a little present to you, and it was a ring with the inscription, "Save a life, save the world." And there was a bit of money left over, and we wanted to give it to you, and you said, no, 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 it was going to be for a piano for one of the Abbeyfield Society homes. Another act of generosity on your part, so you overwhelm us, Nicky.
Now, to tell your story in full, we have to go back to the Edwardian era. You were born Nicholas George Wertheim on May the 19th, 1909. Your parents, Rudolf and Barbara, were immigrants from Germany, and they lived in some style. Home was a 20-roomed house in West Hampstead. There you are with your mother, your late sister Lottie, younger brother Bobby. Your father was a banker. You go to University College School and then Stowe School in Buckinghamshire. And Bobby, you both took up fencing at Stowe.
Yes, Nicky had left Stowe by the time I got there, but as he'd fenced, I fenced. And we used to fence in competitions. He always beat me. He was a better fencer than I was. He very nearly became an international, but he was very good in what he did.
In fact, you were so good, you were on the fringes of the British fencing team. Later, to show your commitment to the sport, you and Bobby invest 14 guineas to purchase the Winton Cup. Keith Smith of the British Fencing Association is here. And Keith, the Winton Cup competition is one of the biggest events in the fencing calendar.
Yes, indeed it is. Bobby and Nicky, I think, realised that in about 1950, fencing was fairly small and London-based. Today it's genuinely a UK-wide sport. We have 15,000 fencers, including the Junior European Championship. And today the Winton Cup is a sort of, I have to say, competitive but also social highlight of the competitive year. So thank you very much indeed to Nicky and indeed Bobby. British fencing owes you a very big debt.
Well, on guard, Nicky, because here to salute you are the current holders of the Winton Cup, fencers from the South East of England team. David Risley, Chris Hauser, Tom Benny, Marion Thomas, Joe Maynard and Jackie Essimage. And you could take on a lot of you single-handed. You leave Stowe in 1927 and you become a foreign exchange dealer and eventually a stockbroker. The 1930s were halcyon days for a well-paid and carefree young man. and at the age of 24, you take flying lessons at Hendon Aerodrome in North London. You meet the glamorous pioneers Amy Johnson and Jim Mollison, who made their first flight across the Atlantic in 1933. And as your career blossoms, you're sent by a broking firm to set up new business in Johannesburg. The quickest way there was by flying boat. It took 5 days. You could only fly in good weather and in daylight hours, but it was worth it. Between champagne dinners, you had a fine view of the Acropolis and the pyramids. That must have been a stupendous journey.
It was wonderful, yes. It was fantastic. I mean, they had so much time, and the pilot said, you've got a camera, you want to take the pyramids, so he flew around the pyramids, and would you care to take a few photos of some elephants? So we went down. Nobody was in a hurry. I can't imagine why they didn't keep that up as a tourist attraction.
I'm told as a 94th birthday treat, you're planning something even more adventurous.
Am I?
Yes. I'll tell you what you're going to do, because I'm going to waft over now to Derbyshire so that you can hear from the daredevil pilot who's going to put your head in the clouds. She's a world champion 3 times over at her sport, and as it happens, she's the only daughter of one of the Winton children, Judy Ledden.
Hello, Nicky. My father, Tom Ledden, was one of the Winton children who came out of Czechoslovakia on the kinder transport trains you organised. And that makes me one of the Winton grandchildren. So to celebrate your 94th birthday, we're going to go up in this. And this is your seat, just here. Rather restricted, bit small, but we'll have great fun, I'm sure. And we'll raise lots of money for the Abbeyfield Society. And you will be the oldest man ever to have been up in a microlight in Britain, incidentally. There's very few people in this world who can honestly say that they've made a big difference and they've left the earth a better place. But you, Nicky, are one of those.
Are you looking forward to that?
Yes, I am.
Well, before you get on with that, we'll go back to 1939. After your rescue operation from Prague had been cut short, you think about what else you can do, and there's plenty. You leave your job on the stock exchange to set up and run an air raid precautions depot in Rosslyn Hill. And then in March 1940, you embark for France to drive ambulances for the British Red Cross. After being evacuated from the beaches at Normandy, you go back to see your old boss at the bank. And what your boss had to say surprised you, didn't it?
Very much. Changed my life, actually. He said, we can never beat this chap. The only thing to do is to make the best peace we can now. And that, people talk about their lives being changed by small events. That changed my life, because I never went back to the city again.
Indeed, in October 1942, you joined the RAF and you reached the rank of flight lieutenant. Unfortunately, your eyesight lets you down, so you couldn't serve as a pilot. Instead, you become an instructor on the early flight simulators. And 2 comrades who served with you in the RAF are here. Airlie Holden Hindley and a chum you haven't seen for nearly 60 years, Ken Timms. At the end of the war, you're stationed in France, and your sister-in-law, Heather, was assistant to your commanding officer. You were demobbed in 1946. You go to work for the Intergovernmental Committee for Refugees in London and Geneva. In 1948, you joined the International Bank in Paris, distributing loans to European countries impoverished by the war. There you meet a 29-year-old Danish secretary named Greta Gilstrup. After a lightning courtship, you and Greta marry at Vejle in Denmark on October the same year. You settle down to family life in Maidenhead, where in the 50s you go into partnership with the owner of an ice lolly factory. Nick is born in 1952, Barbara arrives a year later, and your younger son Robin is born in 1956. Sadly, Robin had Down syndrome and died aged 5. In 1967, you decide to retire. You're only 58, but you've planned to devote your energies to your garden and to caring causes. And 36 years later, you're still actively working for MenCap, Age Concern and the Abbeyfield Society, which includes Winton House, where Wendy Wheatley is the matron. Wendy, what's Nicky like to work with?
He's exhausting to work for.
Nicky is still the driving force in Winton House. At the moment, he's looking for a piece of ground to build another home like Winton House. He's got quite a lot of the money, and we'll run with him. It will happen.
One of your biggest admirers in Maidenhead is the local MP. She joins the party on that screen, Theresa May.
Good evening, Sir Nicholas. Or can I just say Nicky? I guess tonight must be a real surprise to you, but I think it's a very fitting tribute to you for all that you have done throughout your life to help so many people. When I first came to Maidenhead, people said to me, oh, you must, of course, know Nicky Winton. But, of course, like so many people at that stage, I hadn't actually heard of you and of what you had done. But I soon learned, and I was struck by the way in which you had not only devoted yourself to helping others in those important few months in Prague before the war, but the way in which you had thereafter just devoted your life to helping other people. You are a real example to us all, Nicky. I hope you have an absolutely super evening tonight.
Now, Beth Powell, you met through Maidenhead MenCap. You've experienced the Winton warmth.
I certainly have. I met Nicky and Greta about 30 years ago, just after my own handicapped daughter was born. And I felt a strong bond immediately. They knew what it was like having a handicapped child, and fantastic support all these years. And I miss Greta very, very much, but I love you, Nicky.
In 1983, your dedication to community work is rewarded with an MBE. Amongst your other work, it recognised 40 years of fundraising with the Rotary Club, represented here by your friend Rick Fontaine. Through all the years, the documents relating to your untold story are lying hidden in your attic. In 1987, when your wife, Greta, was clearing it out, she came across a scrapbook detailing your remarkable exploits in Prague almost 50 years earlier. Why did you keep it so quiet?
I didn't keep it quiet, I just didn't talk about it.
Greta immediately saw the significance of the documents, though, and she said you couldn't possibly throw them out. You turned to Dr. Betty Maxwell, a dedicated supporter of Jewish organisations. Betty, what happened next?
Well, when Nicholas first came into my office, that was in 1987, with the addresses of the children, I thought it was manna from heaven, because at this time I was chairman of an organization called Remembering for the Future, and I was trying to organize the first ever meeting of survivors in this country. And so my office and I sat to work, and we wrote to the 669 foster homes addresses in the hope that something would come out of it. And in fact, although there was a very large gap in years, we did receive a substantial number of replies, and that formed the nucleus, which eventually helped to trace all the other children.
And so the quiet man is thrust firmly, if reluctantly, into the limelight. In the glare of a television studio, you come face to face with some of the children you had saved. Remembering that encounter, Esther Ranson.
Hello, Nicky. I am so delighted not to be in trouble with you this time. Last time, we surprised you with a television programme, and it was the most moving experience of my professional life. I actually couldn't hold back my own tears. We had to stop making the programme because it was such an extraordinary moment. And I don't think you ever forgave me for having got you up to the studio under false pretences. So what sort of man are you? You're brave, you're humane, you're a visionary, you're bolshy, you're crotchety, and I hope by now you've forgiven me, and I hope you have the most fantastic evening, Sir Nicholas. I'm so thrilled you've got your knighthood at last.
Your story is the inspiration behind Nicholas Winton, The Power of Good, a Czech film that wins an Emmy Award for Best Documentary at New York in November 2002. The two men who've made that film have flown in tonight. From Prague, director Matja Minac, and from Toronto, television journalist Joe Schlesinger.
Good to see you. See you later.
Matty, Nicky is a man who likes to keep busy.
Well, that I really found out when 4 years ago Vera Gissing told me his story, and I wanted to see Nicky immediately, and I called him, and I thought it will be very easy because you were 90, that you will have plenty of time. But to my surprise, he said, wait, young man, I will take my diary. So this week, absolutely impossible. I'm totally full. And next week's even worse. So, and then finally, after 3 weeks, he said, on Thursday, come between 2 and 4, and I will have maybe 2 hours for you. So I was fascinated, and we made 2 films. And Nicholas Winton saved his children in 9 months. He was terribly efficient, and we are terribly inefficient because we did these films in 4 years.
Joe, you have a personal interest. You're actually one of Winton's children.
Yes, yes, definitely. But you know, Nicky, others have talked about the delight in finding out about your role, how you saved our lives. But it also, in a sense, forced us to come to terms with our memories. Because in the intervening years, we raised families, we had jobs, and we didn't forget, but again, it stayed in the attic. And then suddenly, you came along, and I started remembering about catching that train. We waited for the train actually inside the Nazi Reich, just inside a border station. And night came, the train didn't come, and the station master said, you have to go inside. Well, we thought we were going to the waiting room, but we didn't because Jews in Nazi Germany weren't allowed into the waiting room. So we spent the night waiting for that train in this smelly toilet, and it was the last time I saw my father. I should add, you know, having listened to all the things you have done with your life, I've come to the conclusion that compared to you, the Good Samaritan was a one-day wonder, a one-trick pony.
Well, you're prone to exaggeration.
Thank you, all the same. Sadly, after 50 years of marriage, your beloved wife, Greta, died. That was 3 years ago. But as we know, you remain as active and as determined as ever. Your story is a powerful symbol of self-sacrifice, courage, and human solidarity. It shows that in the worst of times, the best will emerge in people. The proof of this is your extended family that's grown and grown from the hundreds you saved and now stretches around the globe. And some of that multitude are here for you tonight. These are Winton's grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So, Nicholas Winton, this is your life.
A new film about the man who changed the lives of others forever. Sir Anthony Hopkins and Johnny Flynn reflect on playing Sir Nicholas Winton, and a survivor of the Kinder transport shares her story in the Arts Interviews next on BBC4.